Akib lived in a small village. The village was quiet. It was far from the big city lights. The roads were made of dirt. Chickens ran free. The air smelled of rain and earth. Akib was a boy with a big dream. He saw athletes on an old television. They ran fast. They jumped high. They were strong. Akib wanted to be like them. He wanted to feel the wind in his hair as he ran. He wanted to hear the crowd cheer his name. This dream was a secret seed planted in his heart, growing bigger every single day. Every morning, Akib woke up before the sun. The village was still asleep. The stars were still bright in the sky. He would look out his window. He imagined a running track instead of the dusty path. He imagined hurdles instead of the low fences for the goats. His world was small, but his dream was not. It was a giant, colorful thing. It filled his mind with pictures of victory and shiny medals. He knew the path would be hard, but the thought of running, of competing, was a fire inside him that the morning chill could not put out. His family was simple. His father was a farmer. His mother took care of their home. They loved Akib very much. They saw the look in his eyes when he talked about sports, but they were practical people. They knew life in the village was hard work. Running doesn't put food on the table, his father would say, not with anger, but with worry. They wanted a safe life for their son, a life they understood, a life of farming, close to home. They couldn't see the path from their dusty village to a grand stadium. Akib listened to his parents. He understood their fears. He helped on the farm. He carried water from the well. He fed the animals. But while his hands were busy with chores, his mind was running. He pictured every task as a form of training. Lifting heavy bags of grain made his arms strong. Walking long distances to the market built his endurance. The village was his training ground. The sun was his coach, and his dream was his constant companion, whispering to him, "Keep going. Don't stop." The biggest problem was distance. The nearest city with a real sports field was a long bus ride away. The bus came only once a week. It was expensive. Akib's family did not have extra money for bus tickets. There were no coaches in his village. There were no fancy gyms or shiny equipment. There was only the land. There were only the things he could see and touch every day. The dream of a proper track felt as far away as the moon. It was a world he could only see on the flickering screen of the old television. The people in the village watched Akib. They saw him running. They saw him jumping over rocks. Some of them smiled, but others whispered. "Look at that boy," they would say. "He is wasting his time. He should be learning a trade." Their words were like small stones. They did not hurt him badly, but he could feel them. The doubt of others was a heavy cloak. He tried to shrug it off. He tried to run faster, as if he could outrun their voices. He knew they did not understand the fire inside him. His friends would ask him to play games in the village square. They played with marbles and sticks. Akib would play for a little while, but soon his mind would wander back to his dream. He would excuse himself and go for a run. His friends did not understand his passion. "Why do you run so much, Akib?" they would ask. "It looks so tiring." He found it hard to explain. How could he describe the feeling of his feet hitting the ground? How could he share the picture in his head of crossing a finish line? He felt a little lonely sometimes. There were days when the doubt felt too heavy. The long, empty road seemed to go on forever. The whispers of the villagers felt louder. He would sit under a large banyan tree. He would watch the clouds drift by. He would think, maybe they are right. Maybe this is a foolish dream. These moments of sadness were his biggest challenge. They were harder than a long run. They were heavier than any weight he could lift. But then, he would close his eyes. He would remember the feeling he wanted, the feeling of victory, and he would stand up again. Akib knew he could not wait for things to appear. He had to make them himself. He was clever with his hands. He took old, worn-out tires. He filled them with sand and tied ropes to them. These became his weights. He dragged them behind him as he ran. The tires made his legs strong. He found a long, sturdy bamboo pole. He practiced jumping over it. He would raise it higher and higher. He built his own hurdles from scrap wood and branches. His backyard became his personal stadium, built from forgotten things. His training was not easy. The village roads were uneven. Sometimes he would trip and fall. His knees and elbows were often scraped and bruised. The sun was hot. It beat down on his back. There was no cool gym to escape to. But Akib did not complain. He saw every challenge as a test. The rocky path taught him to be careful with his steps. The hot sun taught him to be resilient. He learned to listen to his body. He learned when to push harder and when to rest. His motivation came from within. It was a quiet, steady flame. He learned from his mistakes. One day, he tried to jump too high over his bamboo pole. He fell hard. His ankle hurt. He could not run for a week. At first, he was angry and sad. He felt like he had failed. But as he rested, he thought about what happened. He realized he had been impatient. He learned that progress takes time. Failure was not an enemy. It was a teacher. It taught him to be smarter. It taught him to be patient with his body and his dream. This lesson was more valuable than any victory. Aqib also found inspiration in nature. He watched the deer leap gracefully over bushes. He tried to copy their light movements. He saw the eagles soaring high in the sky. He imagined having their powerful focus. The world around him was his coach. The rhythm of the river, the strength of the old trees, the persistence of the ants carrying heavy loads. All these things taught him something. He was not just running on the land. He was learning from it. His connection to his village became a source of his strength. Years passed. Aqib grew taller and stronger. His hard work started to show. A school teacher in a nearby town heard about the boy who trained with tires and bamboo. The teacher arranged for Aqib to enter a district-level sports competition. It was his first real race. He was nervous. He saw the other boys with their fancy shoes and tracksuits. He only had his simple clothes and his strong heart. But when the race started, all his fear disappeared. He just ran. He ran like he did on the dusty roads of his village. And he won. That first victory was just the beginning. It opened a door. Coaches and scouts noticed him. They saw his raw talent and his incredible determination. Soon, Aqib was offered a scholarship to a sports academy in the city. Leaving his village was hard. He missed the quiet mornings and the smell of the earth. But he knew this was his chance. He trained harder than ever. He learned new techniques. He competed in bigger and bigger events. Finally, the day came when he represented his country in an international championship. He stood on the podium, a gold medal around his neck. Aqib never forgot where he came from. He was now a famous athlete, but his heart was still in his small village. He used his success and his money to give back. He returned home not just as a champion, but as a builder of dreams. He built a real sports facility for the children. It had a proper running track, good equipment, and coaches he hired to help. He wanted to make the path easier for the next generation of dreamers. He wanted to ensure no child felt their dream was impossible because of where they lived. Now, when you visit Aqib's village, you can hear the sounds of children running and laughing. You can see them practicing on the track that Aqib built. He often stands by the field watching them. He sees the same fire in their eyes that he once had. He tells them his story. He tells them that it does not matter where you start. It does not matter if you have fancy things. All you need is a dream in your heart and the courage to chase it, one step at a time. His journey from the dusty roads to the world stage became a legend, a story that inspired everyone to believe.